Okay, and let me share my screen for you guys. Let me know if you guys can't see it. All right.
Yes, we can.
Perfect, perfect. All right. So, kind of going over a quick overview of what we talked about yesterday. We went over a little bit about what UX and UI design is and the differences between them. We also discussed the deliverables, also what a design process is, and then we walked through those deliverables while going through that design process. From there, we talked about some tools, also how you can review resumes and portfolios. So now today, what we're going to go ahead and talk about is now that you have a better idea on what UX UI design is, I would love to help you guys with some qualification questions you guys can ask and also some interview prep strategies. As a reminder, UI design is concerned with the effective layout of the visual elements on that user interface. And UX design is that people first concept, and it's about what motivates the users and how they think and behave. Going into that, let's go ahead and start with the screening strategies. This is when you first get connected with the candidate, and let's first talk about the qualification questions you can ask. This is going to be more generalized. While you guys are doing your warm pool building activity, these are great questions to talk about because it's going to go over their generalized experience. But of course, when you're looking at a job description and actually locking them up for that role, make sure you're following along and asking those right questions. But going into it, to get their generalized experience, you can ask them, tell me about your experience with UX UI design. A way you can really get an accurate number rather than saying, oh yeah, I have both experiences. But if you really want to see where their focus lies, you can ask them, well, tell me about in a percentage range, how much UX and how much UI design you have. And then that way you can get a better sense of what they're stronger at, but you really want to focus on the deliverables of what they were actually doing. Going into that, you want to also ask them what platforms they have designed for. Because again, as managers want them to have certain platform experience because then they would have a general understanding of the guidelines that they need to abide by. As a reminder, responsive is like typing Facebook in the URL of the browser. And native app is like downloading Facebook from the App Store and getting it downloaded onto your phone. Another generalized question you can ask is tell me about the environment you worked in. And from this question, you're really trying to understand what's that team size, what was their contribution? Were they more in that startup environment where they're most likely a more generalized designer, working faster pace, handling a lot more deliverables with probably a smaller team? A regulated environment typically has a more focused designer where they're only in charge of a few deliverables. They'll probably be more specialized in either UX, UI design. And then also too with that, it's a lot slower pace, probably a bigger team, but they're also have to abide by the rules and regulations and guidelines for these regulated type of environments. Um, in addition, you can also want to figure out, are they working in an agile environment? Was it waterfall or is it lean UX? And lean UX is just faster paced agile. Also, you can ask them what tools are you most familiar with and what are your favorites to work with? And the reason why I like to ask what are your favorites to work with is because, again, when you're building this relationship with this designer, you really want to show that you're supporting them and what they're looking for. So if you jot down those simple things that they're interested in, they like, such as tools, when you do have that, that rec that comes out, and they're working with Figma because they're an all Mac studio, you can call that candidate and let them know, like, hey, I remember you said you love working with Figma. I had this opportunity that's working with that software, and I thought about you, and I knew this is something you really like to work with. Is this something that you're interested in? Of course, you want to go into the job description further, but it's just a great way to build that relationship with that candidate. Another question is tell me about your recent projects. And from here, you want to understand, okay, what is the industry that they typically design for? Who is their audience and who are their stakeholders? What was the goal and the solution to their designs, and what kind of features and functions were they able to add to it? And also, did they utilize any accessibility or usability to their projects? And then from there, you can ask, were all of your products or were all of your designs in your portfolio shipped? And the reason why you want to do this is some designers may have concept projects. And that's essentially where it didn't actually make it a production. It's just an idea going through their design process, showing the manager pretty much like, hey, here is my process and here's my work that I've done, hire me for this role. And if they don't have any professional work, concept projects are a best way to showcase the skills that they can contribute to. Also too, there can be times where even though that they were working on a team with this, it wasn't first when they were working in their group, they went through the whole design process. But what happens if this team lost funding? And what happens if they can't get it to development stage? Although they did everything they needed to do professionally in their work environment to get this project shipped out, but unfortunately, because they lost a budget, they weren't able to actually make it to production. Therefore, it wasn't shipped. And the reason why you want to ask these questions is the manager wants to understand how this user experience has increased. And if they haven't made it to production for users to use, there's no metrics to showcase how that overall user experience was a success. Also, you can ask, is there any key skills or information that you want me to include for the hiring manager? And I always like to ask these types of questions because it gives them the opportunity to present the key skills about themselves that maybe, you forgot to mention or you didn't think about asking. So it never hurts to that question, and you could be pretty surprised with some awesome answers you can get from that. So now let's go ahead and talk about some creative questions. With some creative questions, this is going to be really good because you can hear their communication style and how they can think on the spot on how they can deal with certain situations. First question you can ask is, what does design thinking mean to you? And what is your design process? First, you really want to listen for that user-centered design approach because again, they are a user experience designer and they are designing their applications, products, and services for the user. So going into that, you want them to either walk you through their design process, going over a particular project they have in their portfolio, or they can speak to it in a general sense. But again, this is going to be really great because this is going to be the same communication that they're going to have with this manager. So this will give you a good indicator of how they can communicate on that. And then going into that, you really want to make sure that they're focusing on the problem that they had in the past. How did they manage it? And again, you want them to think the tangibles and the deliverables. Another question you can ask is, what are some of your favorite apps and app experiences? And this just gives them the opportunity to provide reasons of why they admire certain apps. This can speak volumes to the type of UX designer that they are and also the taste in their style. But from this, you want to understand, were they able to implement those similar features into their designs? Another question you can ask is, name an achievement or a project that you're most proud of and why. Also, how do you deal with people on your team who have opposing viewpoints on your designs? This will show how they can handle conflict or how well they can work in a team. But keep in mind, again, they are working in collaboration a lot with stakeholders, team members, and users. And they're going to have a lot of moments where they're going to have to understand which design choice should they move forward with. So this is really going to show of maybe how they work together to come up with the design solution, or maybe how they were able to prove how theirs was the best design, or maybe how they were able to, just give up on their design because they realized another team member had a better design. And yeah, that may be hard for that designer to just give up an idea they have, but it really shows how well they can work with a team. Another question is, what are some of the biggest trends in the UX design industry right now? From this, what you really want to listen for is how well they keep up with industry trends. Strong designers have demonstrated passion and knowledge on this type of topic. So this candidate's answer is really going to help you guys understand where their current UX focus lies. Should it be, chatbot? Are they interested in IoT, machine learning, AI, data visualization? And then also it shows how well that they keep up with the industry, such as following UX podcasts, blogs, books, webinars, online training, and there's so much more. So that's a really, really great question. And it really uncovers of how well they're staying on top, because if they're only focusing on what's big now, they're already behind. They got to think about what's going to be big so that they can start implementing that in their designs. Another question is, what is an innovative product you've designed? And then what kind of legacy will you leave at your current job? So these are some creative questions. I definitely recommend picking at least two when talking with your candidate. But going into that, now that you have talked with your candidate, you think they're a great fit for your role, you get them submitted, and now they got an interview. Woohoo! Now let's go ahead and talk about how you guys can best prepare them for that interview. So the first call is going to be an impression call. This is going to show if they're a good culture fit for the team. So this is really going to show how they can bring value to their team. What can they offer? And what is their biggest defect? But also, you really want to make sure your candidate is looking up that company and can make a few points on what they've been doing. So they should know the type of software and applications that company typically designs. In addition, in the second round interview, it's going to be typically an on-site interview or a video screen. But one of the key tips I recommend if it is on-site is you always want to have them bring their portfolio backed up on a PDF. But this is because sometimes there can be a Wi-Fi blocker due to security reasons. So you just really want to show that designer can be prepared at any given moment. Another thing too is during the second round interview, there can be either a whiteboard challenge or there can be a design challenge. So there's other design challenges out there. But once they're preparing, giving their portfolio presentation, they need to be prepared to talk about 2 to 3 points within their portfolio. You also need them to be able to articulate why they made those design decisions. But also too, you want them to be prepared to select a story that can select a deck that can tell a story of their work. But if they do have a project that is relatable to the project that you're hiring for, make sure that they are talking about that, because that's what the manager wants to know. What was the goal of their project and what was the solution to that? And they really want to understand, okay, well, what were the challenges that you had and how did you overcome that? And if that candidate has a relatable project, say if you're hiring someone to enhance that onboarding experience, find someone in that search string, put in your search string, finding someone with experience working with an onboarding project, and understand what do they do well, and make sure they're talking about that during that interview. In addition, you want them to be able to discuss the process and how they approach their designs by providing a deep scenario or some kind of robust thought process from insight to design decisions within their presentation. In addition, you want them to be prepared for the interviewer to pinpoint any part of their project and have them dive deeper. And the reason why is, say if this candidate is prepared and has something memorized of what they're going to say, and they're presenting a project that they did 3 years ago. So they have it memorized or going through the presentation, and the interviewer could stop them and say, well, how about that? Tell me more about that. What did you do there? And if they're not prepared to speak on it, they can be a little hesitant and stumble during the interview process. So as long as they know any project that they're going to present, to refresh in their thoughts on what they did on all design decisions from what they're presenting. And then lastly, you want them to share testimonials and success And this can be through like a whole bunch of analytics, or they can be a star rating and say, hey, we jumped from a 3-star rating to a 5-star rating. Something to really back up, because you don't want them to just say, yeah, we had a good user experience. Okay, but how did they have that great user experience? And really, that's where they should back it up with those success stories. All right, now let's go to some coaching tips. These are going to be helpful to teach your candidate how to respond to these questions, especially if they're a newer designer. So first you want to, when they're talking about the problem for the project, and then the role that they played, the steps that they've taken all the way down to the solution, they're going to be focusing on the deliverables, and it's really going to focus on what they worked on. But keep in mind, you don't want your candidate to just say, yeah, we've worked with engineers, we've done this, we've done that. Okay, then they're just listing things, and that's, the manager doesn't care about that. What they want to hear is the reason why they, or how they've worked with engineers. What did they accomplish? What did they get out of that, and what did they do together? That's what they want to hear. And also, when they're talking about those tangible results, you don't want them to just say, yeah, we did some storyboarding, we did some personas, we did some task flows. Again, that's just listing things. But what did they uncover from that? What did the storyboarding lead to? And how did that bring them to a design solution? So from there, they're gonna, when they describe their process and the methods that they follow, you want them to pinpoint those moments of struggle. However, you want them to be able to show how they were able to fill the gaps in the solution around that. However, you also do want them to be creative in the process to show that they're able to take a challenging idea and have a different approach with it. But also, you want them to stay focused during their interview. And this is by staying precise with a clear direction. You really don't want them to ramble. And this is why it's important that you guys should not only call your candidate to prep them, but give them an interview prep strategy with this information. I do have it in a Word document that I send to my candidates. So if you guys want it, let me know and I can send it your way. But with this, if they practice it and they know the end goal of what they're trying to say, that can really help them from rambling on if they do catch themselves, which is natural. People do ramble on, but at the same time, any way that they can, you can help have them avoid those situations, it would only be better for them in their interview. All right. Now let's go ahead and talk about some common interview questions that managers ask. This has been gathered over time. So hopefully this helps you guys to prepare your candidates for these types of questions. But first question is, why do you want to join this team? This is really going to give them the opportunity to show of why they are interested in working with the company, why they think they would, how they would be a good culture fit. And then the second question that could be brought up is, if you produce a solution that you thought it was the best, and then it got pushed back with the team and management, how would you deal with that? Another way this same question could be asked is, what would you do when the client disagrees with your designs? This same question was asked to one of my candidates not too long ago. And pretty much what she said was, give the client what they want. As simple as that was, the managers loved it. Because essentially, if these designers are designing for a client, they overall need to get the approval and give them what they want. Really what a good designer would do is, it will be to take a step back to ask their stakeholders some smart questions to uncover any of the issues that the client has with that design. Are they being subjective, such as, oh, I don't like that color? Or or is it something more deeper than that doesn't stand out? But overall, to it, you want to really give the client what they want, because they are the ones that are supporting the project. In addition, another question that can come up is, how do you prioritize your time? And from this question, this is really going to just understand what this recruiter finds the most important to uncover solutions behind a better user experience. So do they feel that, oh, user testing is the most important? You got to do user testing at all phases, constantly, nonstop. Or do they feel UX research is super important, that you should be doing a lot of UX research because that's going to be the fundamental basis to all your designs? Or do they think prototyping is going to be the best because prototypes is going to give you more of that solid idea? So of what that design should look like and really get that better feedback. So there's so many different ways of what they can prioritize their time. So it's really good to hear that. And that's going to be a question that's going to be asked a lot from managers. Also, you can ask, what is the approach, your approach to making websites more accessible to all user groups? And this is going to be more focused on, typically a little bit more focused on a UI focused design role. And this is going to be focused on the accessibility, so those ADA guideline questions. The next question is, what analytics tools and key performance indicators have you used to evaluate your designs? This probably is going to be a little bit more on that UX focus side, and it's really going to focus on that usability. Another question that could be asked is, walk me through a design example where you set out to solve a business problem. This is really going to, how this candidate should approach this is you want them to use an example in their project, and you want them to understand that they're not just designing a new interface or a website or an app, but they're also there to solve a business problem. So what they would do is they would first talk about this discovery problem phase, where they're going to bring out some research to uncover insights to find the source of the problem. So that's just a way that they can answer that. But also too, with the last point is, why should we hire you for this role? This is really going to give your candidate the chance to shine and prove to the manager why they are the best fit. So this is really where they're coming in with their sales summary of like relating themselves to the role and really proving to those managers that they're the best choice. All right. Does anyone have any questions before we move on to the next section? Yep. All right. Now, what we are going to do is we're going to go ahead and review a job description, and then we're going to look at the key requirements. From there, we are going to, I'll show you guys a search string that I use, and then we can look through candidates, find out which ones are going to be the best fit for the role. So going into that, let me share my job description real quick. Oops, sorry. One moment. Sorry about that, guys. All right. I think you guys should be able to see it now. Can you see the job description?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So we are going to look at, oops, I actually opened the wrong one. Huh. Okay. Sorry about that. Let me get the. All right. Here we go. So first we are going to look at this one, and it's going to be a UX designer with Microsoft. And this is why I say don't really focus on job titles, because as you guys see when we read more, they're looking for a visual designer with strong interaction skills. All right, so going into that, here are the projects that they're going to work on. So they're going to be working on UI, UX for search results page. So this is going to be the project that they're working on. And they're also going to be working on chatbot. They're also going to be generating assets and icons. And then also going to help with documentation for their human interface guidelines. So that's Apple HIG. So from what we see here, it's really a UX UI designer role. They want someone with strong UX and UI design skills. So it's very generalized. Going into it too, you can see, okay, so what they're going to be doing is they're going to be working on Bing features. So think about that search bar. When you have that search bar, what is that search experience for that user going to be when they're typing into the search bar on Bing? And they're going to be adding features like chatbot in it. So it would be good to find someone with search feature experience and also chatbot experience. And then they're going to do UI components and controls. So this is probably good to put like design systems into the search string, because this is going to be more UI focused. And they're going to be working across platforms. So this is going to be responsive. So it's going to be responsive to desktop, mobile, and tablet screen. From here, they need to have a solid understanding of design principles. So again, going in with those visual principles that we're talking about. And then also they need to have pixel perfect type of designs. They're looking about 3 to 5 years of experience. Again, they have to have strong interaction and visual design skills. And then going into it, we see that while a visual design emphasis, so they should have just a little bit more visual skills, they should still have a strong understanding of interaction design. So they need to be creating personas. So here's all the deliverables: creating personas, wireframes, user flows, sitemaps, and other UX deliverables. Then they also need to demonstrate experience creating high quality visual designs and intuitive UI design decisions. Okay, solid visuals. Going into it, a little further, we see that they are, what's going to stand out is a portfolio that they have prototyped themselves. And what's going to be a disqualifier is if they show too much of a focus on one side or the other. So they don't want anyone that's too visual focused, and they don't want anyone too interaction focused. They want someone, solid in both, but if anything, just a slight more visual design skill. And also another disqualifier is if they don't have a lot of process work. So they really want to see the design thinking process behind their design decisions. All right, so let's go ahead and bring this back up right here. Sorry. All right, here we go. Let me share my screen again. Can you guys see it? Actually, you guys probably can't see it in the correct view. Let me switch it over to the other side. Oh, here we go. There we go. Can you guys see it full screen?
Yes.
Cool. So here is just kind of what I did to just summarize everything in that job description, show you guys, okay, here are all the key things that we're looking for. What are those portfolio needs? What are those bonus project experiences that we should look for? And what are the disqualifiers? From there, here's the search string that I've included, and I did a Google X-ray search string for you guys. And here I put in URL and resume, CV, Vitae, portfolio, and Dribbble. Then I put in the job titles. And personally, I like to put job titles for designer roles because I've noticed if you put in just the deliverables, you can get like developers developing like the prototypes and stuff like that. So I like to put job titles, and then I made sure that I wanted to get someone with a lot of visual experience. So I put in design systems, components, patterns, controls, library, because they're designing a component library, pattern library. Also, you can put in like UI kit. You can also, if you want to broaden it more, you can put in style guides. You can put in just branding, but from there, I put in different search strings to give out different options. And I grabbed different candidates that came up within the first 3 pages of my search results. And then here, I want to show you guys what these portfolio styles look like. And you guys get to pick who do you guys think is going to be the best fit for the role, given the job requirement. All right, let's go ahead and review the first candidate. Sorry, I've got 2 screens here, so I'm jumping back and forth. So let's go ahead and go to the first one. So Lynn is going to be the first candidate we're going to look at. Here is her homepage. She shows her selected work of what she's been working on with a brief little overview so you can quickly see. Then she includes her other works that she has, but she really just wants to showcase her most recent projects, probably more relevant to the, the focus she wants to go. I always like to look at the first project too, because it's going to be the most recent. Also, as I mentioned before, when I was walking through how to go through the portfolio, I want you guys to understand how it flows through, and so you guys can start picking up those key things much faster when going through these portfolios. So here she kind of goes a brief overview of what she was doing, picture of the product, a little overview on what she's doing. So she led the design from conception to shipping. So this product, it was shipped. And then also we can see that we have project details here where she goes, oh, never mind. The status was partially shipped. Okay. So it hasn't been fully shipped yet, but we also see, okay, what were the skills that she contributed to on this design? So she made it really easy here for us to view that. And then now we're going to go walk through what, her process is. And first she needs to redefine what the problem is before she can move forward with the ideation phase. So here she's mapping out the experience, and she's only showing the stuff that she's done in the design. Because again, just because they're a UX designer doesn't mean they're doing all the deliverables. It depends on the size of the team. So here she's showcasing her flows of what she was working on. And we have some sketches. Here's some components that she worked on. And we see like a brief little overview. We won't have enough time to read it. And here you can say, okay, it was partially shipped and she got an award for it. So this is going in, and then she shows her impact. And then what did she learn from it? So just wanted to show you guys this one, but let's go ahead and look at her other work too, because I never like to judge a designer by one design project. But here we can see, oh, she's working on chatbot, and that's why she came up onto my, the Boolean search string. So she does have some project experience, so that's nice. Let's go ahead and click to see what that looks like. Okay, so we see she's working on logging amenities. We see a picture of the product she's worked on. And then let's go with the project details. It was shipped. She talks about the duration, a little overview. We do see a picture of a prototype, so that is nice. We are looking for someone who can prototype. So this is really nice and clean. And then talks about the impact, and then goes through her process. So here she's learning from others. This is where she's doing some research. Here, understanding the users better. What are the goals of the project? Here she worked on the flows. She has some beautiful flows here. I think this is really great. It looks pretty. And putting it together. Now showing, okay, where are the things that we're going to need to change. And then she handed it to development for a handoff. So from what we see here, yeah, she has some good UX skills, but she's missing some visual UI skills that are really going to be necessary for this role. So I'll go ahead and just keep it to 2 projects, but we did see she has chatbot experience. She has prototyped herself. She is missing some solid visual skills, really demonstrating some design principles. And I do like her UX. So there are things she has, but things she doesn't. So let's just keep on looking. Let's look at Jeff. This is Jeff's homepage. He's demonstrating case studies and goes with a quick little overview. And then what he was doing. So very clean. I like the homepage. Let's go ahead and click on his most recent project. All right. So again, we see the picture of what that product looks like, the title of what they was working on. He also gives a little overview. So what was the company? What was the prompt? He was working on a payment feature. Okay, so now we know what the project he worked on, and it was for a mobile app. Technically, we are looking for responsive, but then we see, okay, the goal of his project. Also, what was his role? And then going in, we see, okay, here is the problem. So he's going in, understanding what the problem is. He's going to be gathering insight. So this is where he's going to do user personas to truly understand their users. From there, he's going to do some research. So understanding the competitors. And I feel like he does an amazing job understanding or demonstrating the competitors. So he goes, what are the pros? What are the cons? What are the standard features and what are the unique features? And he does this with all the competitors for the product that he's designing for. So great UX so far. And here we can see some solid prototypes. I really do like his prototypes. He does a great job with that. And he goes in with a little overview too, what's going on here. Then now they're in the workshop under, now going into the ideation phase where they're doing some flows. Now we're understanding which flow, like how people are going to flow through the app. And he's going to understand which one's going to be the best user experience for users. So we see the different choices and he goes with a little overview on it. Talks about the constraints. Also, he mentions that he's enhancing the design systems and he goes in with that, and he also focuses on accessibility, which is great. He focuses on color. And then, so he has some visuals, but I really want to, there's more that I want to see in the sense of visuals, like maybe design principle, or not design, sorry, design system, style guides, really showing that. But regardless, he has really clean interface. So that's really nice. And, that looks really good. But I want to understand the reason behind the UI choices, just like that job description mentioned. Going into that, we see some more prototypes. I think he does an amazing job with it, literally though, going through each one, very clean, and you understand what is the action going on for each of these prototypes. And this is what they're going to show their stakeholders to see if they like it before they bring it to that development stage. Here's the acceptance flow when they're accepting. What does that look like? And again, overview. So the whoever's reading this will understand what's going on. And then he shows, okay, what was his final design like? What did that look like? So you can see all the pages on that. And then what were those unique features that were added? What were the results? And what would he do next? And then he mentioned some feedback. So I think he did a really good job here. Solid prototypes. I really liked his UX process. Let's go ahead and go to the next case study. However, so far we did not see anything regarding search feature or chatbot. So here we go with the Jira pricing page. We see the company, what's the prompt? We see the that it's okay. It's on a desktop screen, so this could possibly be responsive, which is good. We see, okay, what was the goal and what was his role? So we can see, okay, so he he led the research, design, testing, and communication. And then we go into what was the problem for the project. And then he goes in with how they did some A/B testing to see which one was the better comparison. So A/B is like telling the users, do you like this one or do you like this one better? Then we go into him gathering insights, understanding the users. So he's doing user interviews. And then understanding, okay, what's the goals of this user? And then here he started doing research. So this is now he's understanding the competitors related to the project he's working on, figuring out what worked, what didn't. From here, he has some prototype experience, he mentions here. We don't see an interactive prototype here, which bummers, but maybe this would be a chance if you can ask him if he has anything outside his portfolio that demonstrates some prototypes. And then what does that final design look like? And then those aha moments. And then this will give an overview of what that looks like. And then the results and what he would do next. So he didn't necessarily have the project experience, but there was also things that he did have that made him stand out. I really like his UX process. I think he has a clean interface. I would like him to represent the visual design a lot more. He does say he did visual design here, but in the job description, it did mention that they really want to understand the reason behind the design choices for that, for those visual UI. Going into that, I still really like him. He is a good candidate, but we got to check our other options. So here we have Dale. This is Dale's portfolio. Here's his home page. So let's go ahead and go to the first project. On the good note, we see, what we see here is we see the title, we see what he's working on, and we see, awesome, it's responsive. We do need responsive, and a quick little indicator is you guys can see how that screen adjusts to the different screen sizes. So going into that as well, we can see, okay, what was the challenge of the project? What was his role? he writes he's the visual and UX designer. And then he mentions, okay, he has 8 weeks to complete the redesign. So it's a redesign of the project. And then he talks about the team. So here's the team members, and then himself as the visual UX designer. And he was responsible for all the visual aspects and the overall flow and experience of the redesign. Okay, this looks like the candidate with so far what we see here with solid visual UX design skills, but we want that tangible proof. So let's keep on moving forward. But we see here the deliverables that he's created, and this is created from scratch, was the user flows, the competitive analysis, low-fi wireframes and high-fi wireframes. So low fidelity, high fidelity, and annotated wireframes. Going into it, we get he's going to get the details. So understanding the requirements of what's needed to be done. This is in the first stage. And when he's in the discovery phase, again, designers will call it different things, walking the process. But from here, what he's doing is he needs to understand how users interacted with this site when he created the user flow. So from what we see here, he's going to first do the user personas. He needs to understand the users before he can get that information. So when he gets the user personas, he talks about Mike. What is he like? What is he doesn't like? Because again, they really need to understand the user before they can continue on the design. And since they are doing a redesign, they need to redesign it for responsive. And he mentions that. And here is an example of what that project looked like before the redesign. And look at how outdated it looks, guys. So good thing they are doing that redesign, because I wouldn't use that website if I saw it look like that. I would think it's going to give me a virus, or I just don't trust it. So here he says, okay, so now that he's gathered requirements, he has the must-haves. What are they going to be adding? What are those features? So we do see that it is going to be, for sure, be responsive design. We also see that he's going to add hierarchy. He's also going to make calling a business easier for people. And then also he wants to simplify search. Also, we now have that project experience we're looking for. So far he's mentions he's a visual and UX designer. He has responsive, and he's also is working on simplifying the search, which is one of the product experiences we need. Here he goes in with the competitive analysis. So this is where he's doing some UX research to understand who are the competitors. So he goes in the main takeaways, goes through the ideation phase now. So now that he has some solid research, understands their users, now he can start beginning a whole bunch of ideas for the designs. And here he goes on an overview of what he was doing. And here he's working on the search results page. And he's saying, okay, what's not working? What do we need to change? And he's putting these little, I'm not sure if you would call it redlining, but it's like where you would where you want to make the changes and what do you want to do. You're coming up with a whole bunch of ideas. Then moving down, they're going to do a mobile first approach. And essentially what a mobile first approach means is you are designing the look and the feel of the mobile screen first. It's not until you finish what that mobile screen should look like. Once you're finished with what that screen should look like, that is when you can start designing for the desktop and tablet screen. So here he's doing mobile first, showing the wireframes of where everything's going to be placed on that page. Again, we don't know what that content is. Since it is a redesign, they have some, content in there, but, they're changing the pictures. So we don't know any pictures that's going on there, and just really organizing how the content's going to be laid out on that page. Going down, he needs to fill in the voids of what he's going to add to that. So he's going to want to, add that logo. He's going to want to fix that search bar, also that navigation. So he writes that in. And now they're going to bring that, that design to life. They're done with the ideation phase. And now they're going to he's going to show what was the before of that homepage, what did it look like, and, what went wrong, what wasn't working. So he shows that, and then shows the after of what it what it looks like after, and how did it optimize the user. So now the user can view the search results page in 3 simple taps. So it's just saying, okay, before maybe it was took 6 taps to get to the spot it needs. Now it's easier for the user. And then here's the search results page before, and here's where it was lacking. And then here's what it looks like after. So now he's to boost user engagement and add revenue for the site. He added a modern interface with relatable imagery was applied. And then a new page that he added, which wasn't a redesign, is he added the business detail page. So that's what that looks like. So then he shows, okay, what were the results? What happened? And yeah, that was his case study for this project. I think there is a lot of great things he has here relatable to the role. He had solid UX. He also have a responsive. He has a project experience. He was a visual designer. But again, I don't like to judge a candidate by just one project. So let's go ahead and go to another one. And here we see it's with Microsoft. And as we all know, getting a candidate with previous client experience is amazing. So here we get the title of the project and what was he doing. And it goes with a brief overview. We see what the challenge is and the goal of the project. So you guys see how all of these are what I was mentioning when you guys are following along the portfolio, how that flow goes through. And some designers may have a different style, but it should really show their design process. That's what you're looking for. Here he goes with his role. He is an experienced designer. He was responsible for the interaction, design, and branding of the overall experience flow. So this looks like also he, could have been a generalized UX designer, but we'll have to continue to read down. But here's the deliverables he's created from scratch. He did the wireframes and prototype. Here is where he's getting the details. So we're gathering those requirements. And then here he's going in with the discovery phase. So here's where he's really gonna understand the users and start conducting some research. And then from here, they're going to discuss what are the must-haves, the requirements and features that they're going to be adding to their project. He mentions it here. And then he's going to go within that competitive analysis. Who are the competitors for the project that he's working on? Then we see the ideation phase when he's creating those ideas for designs, figuring out what's going to be changed. And here he's also aligned to the Microsoft's brand standards, and he's also adhere. Sorry, I was like reading this while talking. So here he, I wish I can open it and show you guys bigger, but this is an example of design systems. And you know what, I'll show you guys another example moving forward, something that's going to be a little easier guys to see, and then I can explain that for y'all. But here he's keeping the flow. And this is when they're going to do rapid ideation. So this is when they're going to go on the whiteboard and just come up with a whole bunch of ideas really quickly. And no idea is a wrong idea. Pretty much all these designers are just going to throw out ideas and then at the end figure out, okay, which one's a good one, which one should we move forward with, or kind of make some changes to. So moving forward, we're in the design phase. And here is where he's going to show the befores and after and what he was doing in it. So you have that little overview. So I really like how he does that. And this is what I mean with the case study. The designer is backing up what they're doing and, leading the reader along the way with their design process. This is the case study, the explanation case study that I was talking to you guys about. Here is where he's also enhanced the branding. He said before there was old fonts, controls, behavior patterns. So here's what it looked like before. And here is how he's enhanced those, that visuals after, so the branding of it. So he's updated fonts, controls, and behavior patterns, and to make sure it aligns to the app branding guidelines. So here again, he's added the graphs in there, and that's what UI designers would do, is anything visual on the screen. All right, and then checking consistency, making sure it had good user testing and it did reach its overall best user experience. And then here he had the prototype. So he has prototyped as well, and that is something we are also looking for. And then also what happened. So what was working and what needs improvement for next time. And then in the revision phase, since he did user testing and it didn't make its overall best user experience after getting some user feedback, he needed to go back to the flow experience and change that flow. So how that user would flow through that app to get from point A to point B. And also he's guided the deployment screen. So it goes into how he's changed that. And then gives the final prototype where he handed it off to the development team to actually develop and get it shipped out. And then again, results and next steps for next time. And how did that user experience increase? So that's Dale. Dale's a great candidate. He had solid visuals, solid UX. He has previous Microsoft experience. He has prototypes. He's also a visual UX designer. So a lot of great things about Dale. Let's go ahead and quickly go over Vanessa. This is Vanessa's portfolio. This is her homepage here of all of her designs. And then you can see that she has more projects throughout, but she only wanted to showcase her main projects, but also still has it available for her other projects for people to look at. So let's go ahead and look at the first project. So here we can see, all right, this is most likely responsive right here. Still got to read to find out, but then here she's updating the payment. So you guys can see here's project experience. What was the role she played? Also, what was the problem? The objective, what are they trying to do? And here is the existing flow. Is the flow experience that the user would have to go to complete its task. Then she gives in a brief overview on what's needed improvements and discuss the key metrics. So far, we see some solid UX. Don't really see any strong UI, but I love the flow experience she has, the wireframes, how she's presenting her work. She also mentions the solutions to things. And then here you can click to view the mobile prototype. So she has prototyping and then the conclusion to it. Again, good UX, not really strong on the UI, but look at here. What we do see is, okay, we do got the design systems and we do know that's a visual focus. So here is what design systems is. And essentially for you guys that don't know, think about rather than design, so design systems is pretty much a cohesion of the brand standards for that company. So think about rather than designing an icon 10 different times for 10 different pages, why not just design that icon once, add it to your component library, and then that way you can just grab it out and add it to each of your designs when needed. So it's just making it quicker and then also making it a standard because you don't want different icons for different pages that mean the same thing. It just would confuse the user. So here is what that looks like. So here she goes in with the, actually, I think it's, here we go. Here's the documentation of the design system. So here's the layout, how it'd be. Here's the branding. Here are their colors. Here are their icons, the typography. So see how it's unified. So now they can just grab this out. Here's also all the font choices that they use. So I wanted to show you guys what that means. But also you can see in her projects, she does have chatbot experience, which is good. We did need someone with chatbot. So picture the project, title, the overview, her role, the objective, problem. Here we can see some more flows, the intent flows. Okay, more just great UX. This is a complex flow, which she did an amazing job on. So I like that. And then the conclusion. So, okay, let's go ahead and actually leave that at that. I'll leave it on projects, but going to, I think this one had search feature. Okay, but anyways, now that we looked at these candidates, what did you guys think is the best candidate for this role? Was it the first one, Lynn, or was it the second one, Jeff, or was it Dale, the third one, or Vanessa, the fourth? Any guesses? Here, let me show you guys the names too.
Yeah, I would like to go with Lynn, I think.
Lynn, okay. Do you mind if I ask why?
because his prototypes and the frameworks, I really liked it, and it was quite explanatory. Also, the UI interface was really good.
I think you mean Dale, because I think that's who you mean from just kind of what your what it sounds like. Let me just show you. Do you mean
Might
this one or did you mean this one?
the with case studies, yes.
The,
Uh,
the
yeah.
this one? Yeah, because you said he, and I was like, I know this one was the girl, so I'm just kind of just
Oh
to
yeah.
you're talking about this one, Dale.
Yes, Dale. Yes,
I agree. Yeah, he. Thank you for answering.
because yeah, because he worked with Microsoft project as well. So even if you look by the client's perspective to find the best one, that will be, I think, good to go.
Wonderful job. Wonderful. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, he had all the project experiences. The one thing too, since you guys weren't able to see his resume, he typically is a little bit older in years of experience. I think he has like 6 years of experience, if I'm correct. So my only hesitation is making sure that this would be career advancement for him, but he is going to be the best one for this role. The second one I would say would probably be Vanessa, because she has the project experience. She does have prototypes. She also has strong visuals and then also has solid UX and within the years requirement. So yes, Dale, I would say perfect fit for the role, especially client experience. Vanessa is definitely the close second, who especially sticking in the years of experience required. So thank you so much for participating. I appreciate that. There is one more thing I just want to quickly show you guys, just in case if you guys were curious of what a UI focused portfolio looks like. And this is an example of that visual storytelling that I was mentioning to you guys, where the picture tells 1,000 words. She does go with a quick little overview of how this has gained a 4.9 star rating. So showing the success, the user experience success, then saying, okay, the team members. So she does have a quick little overview, giving a little background on the project. So she goes on to mention what she worked on over here. And then she goes in quickly with just making it easier. She's doing brand identity, mobile design, website design, and design systems. Since we're up on time, I just want to quickly go over this just so you guys can see that visual storytelling. There's going to be no words going down of, but you understand what she's worked on. You see the process. It's not just a picture of the final project and then you're like, okay, there we go. That's, there's a project, because they don't understand what they did. Here you understand, okay, first, love her clean interface. Really great there. We see the interaction of that prototype. It's sliding upwards, but very clean interface. So I like how we can see that that's what it looks like on that mobile screen. Here is some micro interactions. If you guys were curious on that, that's going to be very common for a UI focused role. Again, working with the graphs. Beautiful animation going with that when you slide. But these are all the visual interface that she's enhancing and really showing a little micro interaction when it says, okay, transfer is scheduled, and then beautiful. So I just, I think she's a great designer. Really want you guys to see what this looks like. So when you are looking for someone UI focused, this is what to look for. Here's a prototype on that desktop screen. It's exactly the mobile screen, but organized differently to adjust to this screen size. So the interactions going upwards. And here, okay, she has very little UX. This is her only UX right here, but the rest all visual. So here's the typography. No, it's not even UX. She just worked on the flow right there. Well, that is UX. Sorry, I didn't mean to confuse you guys there, but I'm not like saying all UX. She just did the flow right there. But then here she did the typography. Here she did the design system for the typography. So making sure it's saying unified. What is the colors that she's using on light screen and dark screen? And we'll show that. Here's where she's creating the icons for the design system. So again, making sure it's unified. Here we can see those universal elements that they're going to use. So all those bars, toggles, iconography. Also, what is that search bar going to look like? What are going to be all the little check boxes you're going to look like? And again, just more design systems that she made unified for their brand. And then going down all the graphs. And then at the end, what does that overall, what does that overall design look like? So wanted to show you guys that. She's amazing. But that being said, that is all I have on my presentation. I really do appreciate you guys all being here. Does anyone have any questions before we wrap it up?
No, Shailene, I'm good.
No, we're good.
Okay, well, awesome. Thank you guys again for everything. I hope you guys learned something. Hopefully I didn't confuse you guys at all. Yeah, I'll go ahead and let you guys go then.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Shay.
Yeah, thank you guys. Have a wonderful weekend.
You too. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.